sip some wisdom, and stay a while. This is the Prosperity Lounge, where growth gets personal. Step inside, we're breaking chains.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We're here just fixing a few things in the studio. I got one mic I gotta fix. Here. All right. Good evening. We're here. We're getting ready to get started shortly. Hang in there for a sec. You know what would be easier? I'll take this one. I'll take two. Here, Joy. I'll just take two, and then Mike, I'll give you Mike one here, since that's all set. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We're getting ready to get started, and at the top of the hour, just checking in, make sure everything's looking good, sounding good, and everybody's being good. That's your live stream mic there. You want to put that on you?
Let me just clip this to my jacket.
Yeah, anyways, good. Should be able to get you. Give me a little test on that.
1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
1, 2, 3.
I want to make sure that's high and tight. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. If you're just here in the chat, go ahead and give us some comments there. We're going to get ready to get started here at the top of the hour. It's going to be a fast hour. So if you've had questions in there and I don't see it, I apologize. We're going to do our best to get to everybody. Let Mike do his thing and tell us more about who he is. Get ready to get started shortly. Here we go.
Engineer said we need to put your mic a little more downwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that better.
I
can see. I thought it was going to fall.
Well, good evening. I don't know if we've started or not. Okay, here we go. Round two. Welcome to the Prosperity Lounge, where growth gets personal and hope meets freedom. I'm Joey Ruffalo, and today's conversation is about leadership shaped by experience. First off, I want to thank our sponsors, Bello Business Solutions. Mention Make Business Make Sense for a free consultation. They'll take care of all your business needs. QR code is on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the radio, come on over and watch us on YouTube at the Prosperity Lounge on YouTube. Secondly, we have our pals at LaPera Insurance. LaPera Insurance, call 865-252-0480. Email Joe at jlapera, LAPERA, at farmersagent.com. Promo code JRRadio for the first 10 quotes this month. Get a free gift card. Hit up Joe. After you talk to the folks at Bello Business Solutions, you got your business all up and running, call Joe to make sure it's insured. And lastly, we got our pals over at Logos.com. Logos is the world's leading Bible app. I'm gonna dub them that. World's leading Bible app. They're giving us a 60-day free trial of their programs. They have 3 or 4 different, I think there's three levels of programming, and all 3 included in the 60-day trial. So sign up for their biggest package, get 60 days free, get it right on your phone, get access books, scriptures, literature, whole bunch of stuff. And it's all free for 60 days. And as always, visit theprosperitylounge.com to learn more and join our free community at www.theprosperitylounge.com. All right. My guest today has spent a little roughly more than 30 years in law enforcement and a little more than 26 years with the DEA, serving in multiple leadership and operational roles over a long federal law enforcement career. I want to just set the record on this. We're not going to be discussing any specific cases, specific investigations, specific operations. It's not what we're going to do here. Instead, we're approaching today's conversation as a student learning from a teacher. I'm curious. I have questions. I want to learn. I'm going to focus things on like judgment, preparation, philosophy, and responsibility earned over time. As always, this is not a political conversation, but one centered around leadership. And I'm grateful to welcome Mike Davis to the Prosperity Lounge. And Mike, thanks for pulling up a chair inside the lounge. Thanks for being here.
Great. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon. Excited to be here.
Perfect. Well, you make sure that you're looking good on camera as always. You look fantastic, my buddy. You look fantastic. Thank you so much. So, Mike, I want to start from the beginning with you. I want to learn a little bit more about who Mike Davis is, where you come from, your local boy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in South Knox.
Okay.
I attended Doyle High School. Graduated from Doyle High School, and after a few years, I was hired by the Knox County Sheriff's Office. I worked there for approximately 5 to 6 years. I'll just touch base. You know, I've been married for 30 years. I have 3 children and 2 grandchildren.
Okay.
2 little girls, and they're just 2 angels. So really excited about my 2 granddaughters.
Nice.
Like I said, going forward, I was hired by Knox County Sheriff's Office. Worked there around 5 to 6 years. Started in corrections. Huge learning impact in corrections. Made some great friends, coworkers there. You know, Knox County taught me how to be a law enforcement officer. I was in the first class, 96-1, that Knox County ever had, that Knox County directed.
Okay. Wow.
And ironically, our Sheriff Spangler, was a lieutenant overtraining at that time, which was kind of neat. And here I was in the first class, and now he's term limited and leaving office after a great 8 years leading Knox County, and I'm running for sheriff now. So after Knox County, I was hired. There had been a hiring freeze, and I applied as a federal agent with DEA. I subsequently was hired as a federal agent with DEA. I went to Quantico, was 16 weeks at Quantico, and then they sent me to New Orleans. So that was a drastic, culture change going down there. Met some great people down there. Worked down there approximately 5 to 6 years, and I was able to get back to Knox County. When I worked in New Orleans, I was on a special team. It's called the MET team, Mobile Enforcement Team, and we would go to numerous cities. We would have what's called a MET team deployment within cities within that division, which consisted of Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. We would have a deployment anywhere from 3 to 5 months working, where I would work with the local, state, and other federal agencies, defining the trafficking network in those cities. We conduct numerous buys to find out who these targets are, and then we would subsequently come back and with indictments and do a roundup and execute multiple search warrants to have an impact on the narcotic trafficking and the violence in those cities. So it was a tremendous learning experience being on the MET team.
Wow. Yeah. So you were in the first class, academy class here in Knox County. You worked in Knox County for 5 years. Went to DEA. What originally drew you to law enforcement in general?
Well, to me, it's a calling. I've always wanted to work in law enforcement. It's been a passion for me. I've had, growing up, I had several family members, uncles, grandfather that worked in various positions, state and federal, in law enforcement, and I always looked up to them, and I always, was proud of them and the efforts they did, and it just, even when I was a child, it's always been something that I wanted to pursue.
Okay. Got a lot of people checking in tonight in the chat here, saying hi to Mike. We have Carrie who says hello, and a few other people. Elaine says hello as well.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Appreciate everybody checking in. We're gonna make a quick correction. Can you actually, Mike? I'm gonna edit this out later, guys. Can you move your mic up a little bit?
Just a little bit more. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So higher up as you can. People want to make sure they hear you good. All right, perfect. That should fix a bunch of stuff there, guys.
All right.
And as always, if you're watching or listening, tomorrow on Saturday on the YouTube channel, we put up a nice, clean, fresh edited copy with the great audio. And then, of course, Monday, the podcast episode appears everywhere on Spotify and Apple. So you get you can hear us all hunky dory then too. So I think we're doing well tonight so far.
All right.
Okay. So you're drawn into law enforcement through family connections and a sense of looking up and something like doing right. But what drew you? Then you got an opportunity to go to DEA. What was that like? What kind of opportunity was presented to you? What was out there, and then why did you take it up?
Well, I just, it was a challenge. I viewed it as another challenge in my career. Also, it was a job that enabled me to go to other parts of the country and work and experience that dynamic and have an impact, in various regions of the United States. Worked, a lot in the Southeast. Also, when I got back to Knoxville, I had cases that extended to Detroit, New York, Chicago. So just, a huge learning curve for me.
At that time, did you see it as a long-term career or something you just wanted to test yourself in?
I saw that, that was a calling, and I viewed that as what I was going to do for the remainder of my career. I enjoyed, having an impact, doing what I could to affect the communities and region that I lived in, to thwart the violence, the poison that was coming into our area, and make a difference in people's lives. Narcotics destroys people. It destroys the community. It's also a source of secondary violence, whether it's, property theft, child neglect, assaults, even people, that are driving down the road that are on narcotics. People that have been, there was actually a fatality, on Chapman Highway due to someone being on narcotics. So I viewed it as having an impact in my community.
Earlier in your career, what surprised you most about the reality of the job versus what your expectations might have been?
Just, I think what has really struck me is just the damage that narcotics does to our community. You see it on TV, you see it on the news, but when you live it, trying to make a difference, and seeing all the damage and the lives destroyed was something that, I didn't anticipate at the level that I saw going into the job. Also, just, the networking and the working relationship that I had with the various state, local and federal agencies, in terms of trying to have an impact, working together, that was something that, I built upon, and I didn't realize how large and what of extent that would be.
Looking back now, 25, 26 years later, it gives you perspective. What do you think that work demanded of you as a person, not just as an agent?
Like I said, to me, it was a passion and a drive. I never lost my drive for the job, wanting to make an impact. And it's one of the reasons I'm running for sheriff. I want to continue to have an impact in our community and save lives and serve the people of this county. done for over 30 years. I still have, like I said, the desire, the ambition, and I know I can make an impact. And I will make an impact as the next sheriff of Knox County.
Over 25 years of doing anything, responsibility evolves. I want to understand again how it shaped you without getting into specifics. How did your roles change your perspective on responsibility over time as you moved up the ranks from agent to sort of now you're involved in planning and now you are planning operations, your responsibility changes. How did that, as your roles change, how did your perspective change?
Well, as once you're first hired, you're trained, you're growing, you're learning from senior agents, and they're teaching you, showing you the dynamics of the job. So it's like any job when you're first hired. There's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to work with a lot of outstanding supervisors and agents and gain their perspective and the nuances, the subtle nuances in doing the job. And then as I progressed, I began to develop cases that, had a greater complexity. I initiated and developed multi-jurisdictional cases where we're trying to define the network, which encompasses, like I said, multiple states. One example was all the phone data that we would dump from the targets to help define the network. So just the dynamic that we can bring in terms of having a large impact on narcotic traffickers, not just here locally, but outside our region that are shipping the poisons, to our area. That's something that, that was outstanding and a great experience.
So a lot of people, when they get into leadership roles, whether it's in a business or in your case in law enforcement, public service, decisions carry real consequences.
Right.
So I can be in a boardroom and just write something on a piece of paper and not really think about the consequences that action's having. But public service, you have to live with those consequences or those actions every day. What does leadership look like when those decisions carry real consequences? Is there a difference in that?
Well, I've done hundreds in my career operational plans. I've led agents on countless arrests, search warrants, a deployment, and it's always with you the safety and security of your brothers and sisters in law enforcement. It's also you have concerns with the public at large when you're conducting these operations, so you have to weigh all that in and conduct a check and balances of all your operations. So, fortunately in my career, none of the officers that I worked with in countless operations were ever severely injured. And, by the grace of God, and also none of the people that we arrested, at least in the operations that I was involved in, recalling back over a long period of time, nothing really stands out where we had, someone was severely injured. And so that,
That's good.
it's especially, on the law enforcement side, that's a blessing. And, it's a brotherhood with people that we work with and understanding the impact, how you start with a case here locally, but how it can have regional and national impact was something that I didn't realize when I was first hired, but as I developed cases, I was able to see that.
Federal service, I have nothing really to compare it to. Maybe you do, but federal service, did it shape the way you think about accountability, both from an upward and downward side?
It did. We're, as a federal agent, we are held to a high standard.
Okay.
In terms of professionalism and integrity. I had top secret security clearance for 26 years. And during that time, I had a background check every 3 to 4 years. we realize as agents, our decisions and our operational planning, not just state, regional, it can have national, effect in terms of the media, as to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 levels of adherence or scrutiny that I had as an agent, local, divisional, and headquarters. So everything that I did as an agent or in a supervisory capacity, there was 3 levels of scrutiny that we had to adhere to. Also pertaining to our case files.
Interesting.
I was also a bursar in our office, responsible for dispersing funds for various, payment of informants, payment of narcotics. So I also had 3 levels of accountability in that dynamic as being the bursar, was also a seized evidence custodian, and once again 3 levels of accountability. We had, and this is one thing that I want to bring to the sheriff's department, we had quarterly and yearly audits of, say, narcotics, money seizures, confidential informant files.
Mm.
So with those audits, we're able to catch mistakes, once a quarter and at the end of the year. So that is, a huge plus, like I said, for catching those mistakes, for our professionalism. And I want to bring that also to the sheriff's department.
Interesting. You said top secret clearance. So if I asked you if there's where the aliens are kept, you're not going to tell me.
Well, no, I might tell you off air here.
Okay, good. Stay tuned, guys. I'm going to know. If you don't see me tomorrow, then I learned, and that was it.
Yeah, I've got. We might go check on something after the show.
Now, you talked about things like confidential informants and dispersing funds, and I just see what I see on television and movies and stuff like that. I was thinking of the movie Donnie Brasco earlier because there was an undercover, and I just saw a clip of it earlier. That's why it's fresh in my head.
Right.
Things like that with these long-term operations, undercover operations, where you're working in the background and you send an agent in undercover. Does DEA get involved in things like that as well?
We do.
Mostly FBI.
Yeah, we do. No, we work. DEA gets involved. We also work. I've worked cases with the Knox County Sheriff's Office. They were a huge asset when I was an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Knoxville Police Department, TBI, worked with our other brother, sister agencies, FBI, Marshal Service, ATF.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I say, I'll say sometimes Knox County Sheriff's Department, it was a department when I was first there and during my tenure, but of course it's an office now. So kind of go back to how it was when I first worked there.
So if I was to ask you the difference between an office and a department,
yeah. Well, it's what it was when I first worked there, and it's kind of, you kind of go back to, to what when you were there.
All right. So I'm generally curious from a learning perspective how experienced leaders make judgment calls when circumstances change. In your years in high responsibility environments, how did that shape judgment and decision making for you?
Well, just realizing that, when you have these operational plans and you have developed these cases, my primary focus when we conducted these operations was the safety and security of the officers that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always, it was first and foremost. Granted, we want to have an impact in dismantling these organizations, but I want to keep the agents and officers that I work with safe. And it can lead to a lot of, restful nights,
Mm-hmm.
worrying about, operational plans that we conduct and the safety. Have you covered everything? There's always some subtle nuance that maybe you need to develop more. So that was the biggest thing, was just safety, and also safety of the public when we're conducting these operations.
Interesting. Okay. So when you're making these decisions, you're in these high roles, you're going through the planning, you have to be very disciplined.
Correct.
Probably more so than most people need to be in most of their positions and jobs in normal life, because you can get away with being lax one day, but in your job, you can't. You have to be on discipline the whole time. How does that discipline and what role did discipline play in helping you make sound decisions under pressure? Because you're in a high pressure situation.
Right, and like I said, once again, we go back to covering as many aspects of the investigation as possible, uh, coordinating the intelligence with the various agencies, and giving specific roles to the various elements in the investigation, but yet making it all, constructive and uniform, so everyone knows their role, everyone knows their objective, and like I said, these cases spread over multiple jurisdictions and multiple agencies. So making sure everyone is on the same page, and also, everyone is held accountable.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to be accountable. Everyone has a passion for the job that I worked with, and so that was, always a positive experience. That everyone tried to have an impact that I worked with.
Now, Mike, I'm gonna let you take a sip there
No.
as I ask. How do strong systems help leaders avoid reactive or emotional driven choices?
Like I said, it's about accountability
Okay.
and transparency, and those elements that are put in the equation as you're doing jobs, whether it's your audit, your background check that we had to have as agents. That serves and holds us to a standard,
Mhm.
and it's expected of us. It's also not only expected of us, it's what we as agents, task force agents and local, it's what we expect of ourselves in terms of, law enforcement is a calling,
Mhm.
and we're serving the community. And so that's what it's really about.
I want to shift gears a little bit into sort of how do I even tiptoe into this, Mike? Overarching, a lot of stuff going on in the news today, a lot of stuff that's happening.
Yes.
And I don't want to be specific on a topic, but just an overall kind of theme here. If you're in the lead role and you have to evaluate how to proceed in certain areas, how to proceed in a situation, additional resources are made available to you to help you proceed in that situation. Does expanding operational involvement make sense, or do you need to stay within your defined role and responsibility as sheriff?
Well, as sheriff, any threat to our community, no matter what the dynamic is, we need to address it. If it affects the security and safety of the citizens of this county, we're going to address it, and we're going to work in conjunction with other agencies to address those threats, so that not only the threats but our quality of life in Knox County. And to me, that's the most important thing: protecting and serving and maintaining, enhancing the quality of life of the people of this county. And our most precious resource, the women and children of this county, uh, and doing what we need to do to protect them, whether it's and everyone, whether it's church or school or just going to the restaurant. So it's a broad spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a follow up to that: are there guardrails, or do you expect there to be guardrails, or should a leader put guardrails in place when making those kinds of decisions about whether to expand operational involvement?
Well, with as being sheriff, you have to have a strategic plan. You have to set goals.
Okay.
You have to implement the strategies to achieve those goals. And as sheriff, I'll hold myself accountable, as well as our agency accountability. Lastly, to achieve those goals, and it's not just within our department, but it's a broad spectrum. If we have aspects of criminal activity coming into our county from outside regions, such as illegal immigration, we're going to work with ICE, because criminal, illegal aliens. That's a threat to our community. And I have some statistics here on that. If I can share with that.
Absolutely.
I believe this was approximately 73 to 75 counties that reported out of approximately 95 counties in the state. And this is from the state legislative body. This was the last quarter of 2024. We had approximately 2,700 individuals that were arrested with a total of just over 3,800 charges. We had approximately 447 crimes of violence, 11 homicides to include that. We had 654 approximately driving under the influence, 549 approximately driving without a license, 533 driving other violations, approximately 154 domestics, 80 aggravated assaults, 21 cases of child abuse or neglect, 9 statutory rapes, and 6 aggravated robberies. And that's the last quarter of 2024. Those are approximate stats from the state legislature. So, criminal illegal activity in our county is something that we need to address.
Mm-hmm.
And I will address that as sheriff because it's about the safety and security of the citizens of Knox County. That is, above all else. So, and that's just something. And two, if I can touch upon the homeless briefly.
Absolutely.
I have compassion for the homeless. I've toured the CARM facilities. I've spoke with numerous people that are homeless. The CARM facility there on Broadway has a medical unit. I didn't know that they have a medical unit in there to help the people there. Everyone that's staying in CARM has a case file where they're giving the treatment that they need. We also in state court have veterans court, drug court, and mental awareness court. Or once these people are engaged in law enforcement, we can get them the help that they need. And and a lot of these code violations of these so-called shanty towns, we're not going to have that as sheriff. We're gonna direct these people to receive treatment. A lot of times these little areas they butt up to subdivisions where children are playing, or they're I know in Chapman Highway, the park here at Duff Field. I've heard from numerous people in South Knoxville, they won't even go to Dove Field because they're afraid of the violence that's down there. And I've witnessed that because I've been there and seen, people living in the woods and people are afraid to go down there. But, they do need a place to stay. And like I said, I do have compassion for them, but we need to address these issues that, the homeless situation should not override people that live in our community.
Yeah, I have it on here on your website, which I have up on the screen right now for everybody. You have locate permanent locations for the homeless and eliminate squatters is one of your priorities, as well as working with the ICE and sheriff's accountability. We talked about that as well. So,
Right, but this, you want to have, that's one thing as sheriff. You want to have that discernment and objectivity as sheriff.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I will bring as sheriff. I haven't, even though I've worked in the department, I've worked with DEA, I've worked all over the country, but I've also worked 20 years in Knox County. And I think I can be, I know I can be more transparent as the sheriff. I'm not beholden to anyone. I don't have a network. I'm looking to continue to raise the professionalism that Sheriff Spangler has had over the last 8 years. I want to elevate everyone in the department. We have the resources and we will have the passion and desire to be the preeminent law enforcement agency in the state. and I'm excited. I'm excited about the opportunity and the things that I can bring to the office.
If you're just joining us, this is the Prosperity Lounge. Today's conversation is focused on leadership, judgment, and preparation. You can listen back on any of the podcast platforms, watch the replay on YouTube, and join our free community at prosperitylounge.com. Some people in the chat here who wanted to say hi to you, Mike. We got
All right.
Teddy.
All right.
Teddy Green here said Teddy's old friend from the sheriff's.
Oh yeah, outstanding officer and gentleman.
Great. I got two questions that come in. Usually I hold the questions towards the end, but these seem to be pretty on point here. Truth Between Lines asked, other than the obvious technology advances, what has changed in policing from when you started until now?
Well, my last couple of years with DEA, federal agents didn't wear body cameras, so we have body cameras. When I first started, we didn't have them. So near the tail end, we had body cameras, so that was something new. Also, just some of the technical advances versus when I first started. The drones. I've talked to Chief Noel with the Knoxville Police Department, and they were awarded, through a contract. They're going to have drones now, which can get to the scene before. I think they can get to anywhere in the city in like 90 seconds.
Wow.
So that will be a huge asset to officers that are responding, so they can see the threat dynamics to what they can ascertain before they get there, and that's something that I want to expand upon once I am sheriff. But just facial recognition. This goes back. When I was first hired as an agent with DEA, we didn't even we had to check out a bag phone. Okay, this was when I was in New Orleans. We didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. So I've seen the full progression. And you say that to I say something like that to my children, and they're like, "What are you talking?" So just the tag readers, the technical advances, also the various methods that narcotic traffickers can utilize to communicate, encrypted dynamics is so much more difficult than when I first started. So granted, law enforcement has advanced, but so has the criminal element also advanced. And so we're trying to continually challenged by that dynamic.
I can imagine too, tracking and tracing money now has got a little more difficult.
Yeah, currency. But still, I've worked cases where we've seized, several $100,000 that someone will have in a home. So it's still, we still seize a lot of bulk currency.
I have one other question here from Team Huddle asks, for us viewers at home, how does your DEA experience translate for being able to oversee and operate Knox County versus another, say, traditional cop like the other candidates? And we don't have to get into specifics with the other candidates, but just mostly your experience in this.
Well, like I said earlier, my experience in initiating, developing, and overseeing investigations that encompass multi-jurisdictional areas and those departments all working together in developing that relationship and coordinating with them with the resources that they bring to bear, whether it's an air wing in another state, the highway patrol in, say, Ohio. So you're managing multiple agencies simultaneously. Okay, although they're we're all wanting to move the bar upward, but just the responsibility that takes on multiple fronts and the leadership qualities that you must have in directing those cases over hundreds of personnel and millions of dollars of assets that those various agencies can bring to bear. Like I said, I've done several hundred, probably 800 to approximately 1,000 operational plans that I've developed and were responsible for.
Yeah.
Also, I've worked in a leadership capacity over various groups in law enforcement, as well as our office, in the supervisory position in our office, in conjunction with other offices in the, enacting, supervisory role in that capacity. So, like I said, it's about, having an impact uh, on the community and the quality of life of people in the community.
Mm.
And, the dynamic, I have seen over the last 6 or 7 years, uh, uh, there was a 313 initiative initiated by the TBI, but also worked in conjunction. We would assist the city police department, Knox County, FBI would assist, and the impact of narcotics from, say, Detroit, Chicago, New York, coming to Knox County and other outlying counties is unbelievable. And so that was what I was primarily focused on my last 6 or 7 years, was that, and leading investigations, trying to stop that dynamic.
So you obviously, you said you're working with different departments. I don't
Right.
know the exact terms, the interdepartmental, but I don't know if that's the right.
Yeah, we have several agencies that work with us. They're officers, they're task force officers or task force agents, and I've worked with some tremendous task force officers in my career, from the city, Blount County, Knox County, TBI, Highway Patrol, Fifth Judicial Task Force. Uh, Great guys. I love them. They're my brothers. But they're also able to bring in intelligence and their resources to help define these networks
Yeah.
to have it. So it's a team effort, and it's all about the people of this county in East Tennessee.
Makes sense. I mean, because if you're, let's say you're DEA, so you're focused on drugs, but in that process of dismantling a drug operation, you uncover human trafficking operation and a money laundering operation.
Right. Well, that's part of it. We've seized, my tenure with DEA, we've seized hundreds of firearms. Okay.
Right.
It's not just narcotics. It's hundreds of firearms. We've worked with, ATF.
Mhm.
One of my last cases, we did a search warrant. I think we seized like 11 or 12 firearms from that residence. So it's just not about drugs. And
Yeah.
two, the impact that we have on narcotics, like I said earlier, it affects a lot of the secondary crime. It's hand in hand in our community.
Yeah.
And so that's what gets me up, gets me excited about continuing doing the job, and still having a passion, because I'm at a point in my life where I can still have an impact with the experience that I have, not only in Knox County, but throughout the country, working, developing cases, coordinating with other agencies. Uh, understand that dynamic.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that there's, they see a case on TV or they watch a, television show about something and they just think, oh, they arrested the bad guy and, they got the drugs off the street, it's done. Or they got the guns. But there's, like you said, you seizing guns. Now ATF gets involved and ATF's trying to figure out where those guns came from. And there's a gun running ring somewhere and leads to something else. And everything's kind of all interconnected.
Yeah. And then you get into, where, we've worked a lot with the Knoxville Police Department and Knox County, Knox County Sheriff, with overdose deaths. That's been a huge impact as well, identifying, a nexus with someone that is OD'd,
Mhm.
and determining, or trying to ascertain the person that supplied narcotics to that individual.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it. There's a lot of dynamics. And of course the money seizures that we did. Seizures of real property. I worked one case. The IRS also worked in conjunction with us and was instrumental in terms of seizing millions of dollars worth of property in one particular
Wow.
case that we worked at. So we depend also on other agencies and work with them.
Yeah. You have to obviously have the demeanor and the leadership quality and like you said, the discipline earlier, the accountability to know when to take the lead in a situation, know when to defer to another department, and know how to all work together.
Right, and you have
as
to,
teammates.
you have to work together, and two, you have to, you have to have a passion. You have to be driven, and that's one thing that I'll bring as sheriff. I'll have the passion every day to have an impact in our community. I also have a passion to take care of our officers. Um, you know, day one, I will work with county commission and the mayor's office to address the needs of our department as well as our officers. Look at their retirement program. Look at their pension. I know right now there's a push to get a pension. So, I want to, and our reserve officers and our correctional staff and administrative staff, we're all in a brother or sisterhood, and I want to have parity and take care of everyone in the department, not a particular group, but I have a love, a passion. I want to take care of everyone and have that parity. Like I said, also, I know it comes 60 or 90 days, address the concerns of the officers. I want to systematically go to the various departments, receive their input as to what they think can, improve whatever department we're in. So I want that feedback. I want the feedback from everyone. So it's about our officers. It's about, building that relationship with the mayor and county commission and receiving feedback from the various departments. Everyone's got thoughts and a comment, and everyone can add to the dynamic of enhancing the department. And so that's what I want to bring, and I will bring as the next sheriff.
All right. So I want to shift into philosophy for a moment, Mike.
Right.
Hear how experienced leaders think about order and prevention. When people talk about policing philosophies, what do you think that actually means to you in practice?
Well, what is having the impact in our community, whether it be the homeless situation, the criminal illegal alien situation, the narcotic situation. You address every dynamic within the county.
Okay.
Anything that affects the quality of life in terms of citizens, their safety and security, I'm going to address it and do my utmost to enhance the quality of lives in Knox County. Where it's code violations, whether it's graffiti, that's all for the betterment of the county and the quality of the people in the county.
So what do you think about prevention versus reaction when it comes to public safety?
Well, the key is prevention. You have to be proactive. You have to work with, state, local partners and address, the dynamics that they can bring also to help thwart these crimes. Right. So prevention, if you can stop something before it festers, that's the approach that you need. You need to be proactive every day in law enforcement and stop that domino effect. Oftentimes that crime does.
Sure. Speaking of crime and domino effect, there's a long-standing theory of referred to as the broken windows policy.
Right.
The idea that small issues left unaddressed can lead to bigger problems.
Right.
From your experience, what does that theory get right, and where maybe does it need a little balance, if at all?
Well, I think you do need to address the smaller problems, whether it's code violations, whether it's sometimes it's small, shoplifting. Some of these uh, lower end crimes, you need to address that because, like I said, it'll fester, foster, and lead to greater crimes. And the same individuals that are creating or these lower, misdemeanor violations, they're also will elevate into felony cases as well, or they have a history of being a prior felon. So you have to continually stay vigilant in stopping that.
So as a leader in your probably should say prior life as DA agent, and what you
Right.
want to be as sheriff.
Well, just to touch upon that, what's crazy is, I've still had to testify. I had a case, a
Really?
significant case last year.
Wow.
Uh, Organization from Detroit that I testified. Had 2 or 3 hearings last year in a case, and we convicted these individuals. So I think I've still got 1 or 2 more cases that I may have to testify in. So
Okay,
I've
so not
still
bad.
been, yeah, I'm still working, and that's fine because what I and the other agents and other agencies I work with developed, we're going to see it to the end.
Yeah.
And so I'm still working to a certain level.
So what I was going to ask then is, as a leader, how do you maintain, or how would you maintain consistency in enforcement while still allowing officers, say, discretion and judgment?
Well, when I'm the sheriff, I want officers, correctional staff. I want people that that are smart. They have common sense.
Mm-hmm.
They have professionalism. Okay, and they have passion. Okay, and you put people in position where they have shown that they have those leadership qualities, and you trust in them making the decision uh, as sheriff, and you back them up when they make those decisions, whether it's in correctional, patrol, narcotics, major crimes. You trust the people that you have in place. You want to make their job easier as sheriff and back them, and also whether it's reserve, where it's our school officers, our school resource officers, and the safety that they provide for our children every day. What do they need? Back them up in every situation, and that's what I will do as sheriff. They're my brothers, and the people of Knox County, they're my extended family. I love the people of Knox County. This is where I was raised. And so that's another dynamic as to why I'm running and why I'll be the next sheriff of this county.
So I want to get into a little bit about transparency. We did a little bit earlier, officer safety and culture. Experience teaches you which systems protect people and which ones fail. I have a couple questions here, but I love a question in the chat from Carrie who said, how do you keep optimism and morale for yourself and your staff when crime is never ending?
Well, it's about your passion and your desire. If you lose that passion, then you need to do something else. But you need to bring the passion every day, knowing that you can affect the lives, the children of people in this county. It's so upsetting when you see these young ladies that jog on these trails in the evening or early morning in some of these other outlying states that have been attacked or raped or killed, and it's so upsetting. And I think about that continually about how we can address um, uh, those safety concerns. But like I said, you have to have the passion, you have to back your fellow officers, and you have to do it with professionalism and foremost to integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have done, and that's what I will continue to do as sheriff. And I'm excited for the opportunity, and I know there's a lot of people in the office, that are just as excited. So
So that excitement, that optimism, and that accountability, and you're talking about bringing morale, increasing morale to the department. It also trickles down into the culture. And how do you feel culture, or what role does you think culture plays in retaining good officers?
Well, let me touch on something. It's all about leadership. And when, whether it's corrections, administrative, or certified officers, if they know that you have their back and they support them, they'll follow you. It's not only what I expect of myself, it's what I want to instill throughout the department, is that trust, transparency, and that I have their back. And when you do that, the public sees that.
Mm-hmm.
And that enables the public, that dialogue between the public and law enforcement to develop, that also fosters that trust. And that's another element. When I'm elected sheriff, I want to reach out with civic leaders, ministers in the community, and get their feedback. What can we do to address your concerns in the community? How can we be more proficient? And let's have that dialogue established, so when something does happen, we have that connection and can work together to stop something from escalating. So that conversation and that connection with, like I said, community leaders, people in the various churches, you've got to have that.
Lastly, on this topic, what mistakes do you think organizations make when experience isn't valued or passed down?
Well, it's like anything. The more knowledge that you have, the more training, the more experiences that you've went through, fosters that demeanor of professionalism and experience. So it's just simply having the experience and drawing upon the knowledge of also the people that you work with, whether it's prosecutors, other agencies, your own elements of management,
Mm-hmm.
and just taking that all in and making, having that discernment from everything that you've received.
Love that. Well, Mike, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, the hour moves really fast. We got a few minutes left. I want to just reset in the chat. Here's a couple of questions.
All right.
Kind of answered this one. What inspired you to push yourself as a candidate for sheriff of Knox County?
It boils down to my passion and desire to serve and protect the people of this county. I have the experience with Knox County, with DEA, in terms of the cases, the managerial and administrative elements that I've worked in to bring that to the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at a point in my life where I can still, have a huge impact, on the people of this county.
Absolutely. And then here's another one here. What type of training, you may right now this, what type of training do deputies receive to deal with domestic violence calls?
Domestic, well, there's,
Yeah.
I know one thing when we were with DEA, we'd have, because we would deal with that also in calls that we would have, but they have in-service training. There's also a social network, social services network for these women that they can drop on. And a lot of times these domestic violence issues are also tied in with narcotic use. Okay, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of the narcotic there's carryover narcotics with domestic issues.
So some updates on Mike in the chat here. Again, Mike, as a federal agent, consistently had to undergo training. He was also a victim witness coordinator,
Right.
bursar, evidence custodian, seized assets custodian, and you were involved in the interview process for hired, trained, and new hires and task force agents.
I was. That's a lot of hats. We conducted interviews for prospective agents. Question and answer. I've also trained agents, not just here, but in in New Orleans. Also was a part of the hiring dynamic in New Orleans, and it's great, seeing the passion that these people coming in for the job. But yeah, training also, worked with some great agents that were also trained and interviewed other applicants.
Absolutely. So, Mike, I got one last section for you. This is our rapid fire round.
Rapid fire, let's
10
do it.
questions. First thing that comes to your
10?
head. 10 questions.
10 rapid fire, okay.
Yes, these are
Let's do
specific
it.
for you.
Okay.
Early career or late career, what taught you more?
I would say later in my career,
Okay.
because I was, I was able to learn from senior agents as I progressed, how to really have an impact with these drug trafficking in time and dismantling these drug trafficking organizations and the violence that is attributed to them. So I would say, as I developed in my career, I understood the nuances and the investigative measures to have the greatest impact.
Leadership or management, what matters more?
You have to be a leader.
Okay.
A leader is the key to any organization. Integrity and professionalism, transparency that you have that flows through your department. Leadership is the key.
What was the most important lesson learned the hard way?
The hard way?
Sorry.
Just, I don't know if it's such a lesson, but just, sometimes you may, the outcome is not what you want. You're trying to have a greater impact in a case than maybe what you had initially, but you just keep pushing on, and don't stop. So no matter what bumps you have in the road, you continue the fight.
What separates experience from wisdom?
Experience from wisdom. Sometimes wisdom is, you pray about it, it's God-given, okay? But experience and wisdom, they kind of go hand in hand. You develop that wisdom over through your experience over the years. And you just, you pray about it every day, and you ask for grace, and you hope that you're making the right decision, but because it can affect a lot of lives.
Accountability done right looks like?
Accountability done right. And once again, it goes back to protecting and serve, transparency and integrity. What you expect of yourself, what you expect of your officers and correctional staff, in defining that network. Also administrative, the totality. Everyone is important in Knox County.
One last one for you here. I'm going to give you 5 instead of 10 because we're running out of time.
Okay.
What is your personal definition of prosperity?
Prosperity, to me, is where you can live and work in your community, feel safe, explore the challenges, where it's educational, work, to enhance your life. But just in having that freedom and knowing you can pursue your goals and aspirations. And also with me, it's my faith. It's my faith in directing me in my actions and governing how I treat other people and the challenges that this job brings.
Mike, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for pulling up a chair inside the Prosperity Lounge. People want to find you. What's the best place to find you? Read more about you.
Yeah, MikeDavisForSheriff.com.
MikeDavisForSheriff.com. Pretty easy.
Oh yes. God bless you. Really enjoyed it, and I'm asking for the support of the people at Knox County, because I will be a difference maker. And God bless you.
Thank you so much. So today wasn't about cases or campaigns, everybody. It's about leadership, judgment, philosophy, and preparation earned over time. My thanks to Mike Davis for sharing insight from a lifetime of service. As always, you can find the Prosperity Lounge on YouTube, Spotify, podcast, at theprosperitylounge.com. Just type it in. You'll find us everywhere. Until next time, everybody, stay faithful, stay fearless, and remember, freedom lives where faith and action meet. The lounge is always open, and so is your next breakthrough. This is the Prosperity Lounge. We're off radio, but still live.
Well, what do you think?
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Elaine, thank you for all the questions and comments. Appreciate that. You did a great job. Knox, up to no good. About 20 people in here is a record number for me, Mike.
20?
I appreciate it.
Let's do 100.
Let's do it.
Let's keep
Let's keep
rolling.
going,
Let's
yeah.
go another hour.
I'm good.
I'll get out here and I'll run around the building a few times and we'll launch again.
Order pizza. Let's go.
You pizza, man. I'm trying to. We're off.
We're on live.
Oh, we're on live. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I need a pizza. I'm trying to eat less. You know, when you can gain 5 to 10 pounds a day,
Yeah.
you know, you have to watch what you eat.
You know what? You got a few extra minutes?
Sure.
All right, let me ask you those last 5 questions.
Okay.
We did accountability. Curious on this one. What builds trust fastest?
Doing what you say you're going to do, being committed, showing that you're a person of integrity and that you're going to do and be there every day, and just do what you say. I think on the surface, that's what initially in any dynamic that you have, people can see that you're forthright, you're trustworthy. That's a huge element, trust, and just if you tell someone something, that's what you're going to do.
What erodes trust fastest?
Once again, not doing what you say, not being a person of character, not being a person that you trust and often that someone can trust. And oftentimes, you know, people can have the perception of you over one issue. And, you know, no one's perfect and I'm not perfect, but I've always tried to do what I say that I was going to do, no matter what, in what context that is.
I think you're right about that. I'll interject. It's if you may do what you think is right on a topic or subject or situation, and it may end up being the wrong decision, let's say.
Right.
But if you're consistent with your decision making, people can look back and go, "Oh, I could see why he did that."
Right.
And that kind of like, okay, he's consistent across the board.
You know, and a huge element of law enforcement, of course, based on your training, your experience, a huge component of that is just common sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, not every situation you're putting cuffs on someone. You're also serving the people of this community, you know, when they need help in their needs. It's not, like I said, always about, you know, taking someone to jail. You know, you're a custodian, you're a servant for the people of this county. And, you know, that's a huge component that you need as sheriff. You need to get out in the public. You need to see your various departments, work with other agencies. And so that'll build that trust.
What does service mean to you after I wrote down 25? It's really 30 years.
Service to me is about honesty. It's about passion. It's about bringing it every day to have an impact on the lives of the people, you know, your region, in your community.
And here and see if anybody else has any questions for you. All right, and lastly, what advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self,
Yeah.
you know, call upon the people that have experience. Be patient. Okay. Sometimes, you know, when you're younger, you maybe be too, you might be too, you know, knee-jerk reaction. You know, rely upon the people that have been there before you. Draw upon their knowledge. They've already been down the pathway. So draw upon their experience and their insight. And that can help you. And as sheriff, that's what I will do. I'll draw upon the insight and the knowledge that people have in our with Knox County, whether it's training, major crimes, narcotics, corrections, those are invaluable resources that will help me and help Knox County have the greatest impact.
And finally, one last question I got here from the chat. It's a question I usually ask everybody, but it didn't come up this time. I'm not sure why my notes didn't put it in there, but best book you ever read that changed your perspective?
Best book that I ever read. When I was a kid, it's called The Wild. It's probably one of the best, that experience. When I was younger, books that, challenged you,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges at younger, those adventures. That was always exciting when I was younger.
Is that the Jack London book?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a wolf in there, right?
Oh yeah, you gotta love it. But I go back to when I was younger, and just that experience, the adventure when I was a kid. I think that was incredible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I don't want to keep you any longer. Appreciate you being
enjoyed
here.
it. Enjoyed it. Had a great time. Is a blessing being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody in the chat again. If you're here and you want to watch the replay, you can use this link. But tomorrow I'll put up a brand new version of this that anybody could watch and listen to, and download the podcast and all that other fun stuff on Monday, and learn more about Mike and send it to your friends so they all learn more about Mike and help them make a decision come election day.
All right. I said it's a blessing. It's a blessing to run, and I ask for your support, and any questions you have, feel free to contact me. And I appreciate being here.
Mike's always available if you get him.
Yes, sir.
It's been always awesome with me.
Blessing.
So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Stay safe, stay warm wherever you are, and see you on the flip side.
All right. Thank you.
This is where